Welcome back to Bohemia, friends! Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has graced us with its arrival, and I can honestly say it's one of the best games I've ever played. Henry has come back to see us. As some of you may know, I earned the Platinum Trophy on KCD1 last year, and it took a very long time to complete and edit, but I'm so glad I decided to tackle that quest, and it has now brought me here to our next chapter. Don't forget to check out part 1 and 2 of that journey, which I compiled into a supercut. KCD2 builds on what the first game delivered us, and makes everything bigger, better, and more brutal than ever. The writing and acting are the main highlights here. I hope they make a movie at this rate. I am loving every minute of it. But onto the task at hand, the Platinum Trophy. There are 49 trophies up for grabs, and they are generally easier than the first game, but will take even longer, seeing as this game is much larger than the first. You're looking at way over 200 hours playing casually, which you should be doing to enjoy the game properly. The trophies involve things such as completing almost every piece of side content found in gorgeous Bohemia, achieving hidden outcomes in quests, meeting old friends, expanding your arsenal and inflicting death with every weapon, and completing the entire game without killing any animals or even eating meat. I hope you don't mind eating your vegetables. And this is just the beginning of my journey. It's going to be another long one because I'm passionate about this series and I would like to showcase as many of my favourite moments and highlights as possible, with of course the trophies alongside them. And I can only record so much at once, otherwise my laptop will explode whilst editing and rendering. Now without further ado, let's venture into pastures anew in an entirely new region of Bohemia as we get into this medieval epic. Right away we're in the middle of a large-scale battle as our old friend Father Godwin, or perhaps just Godwin now after his drunken antics in KCD1. We also notice Hans Capon handing him a lovely new weapon, the crossbow, a nice addition to the available weapons this time around. There is purposely little context behind this battle as we head up to the fortress walls to rain crossbow bolts on our enemies below. There is a fairly tough trophy to earn that requires you to get a headshot with a crossbow from a long distance, but I don't think it's possible to trigger it here. Godwin was summoned back down to the courtyard to protect the gate, and you can notice soldiers using early depictions of a rifle or boomstick. I was very excited to get my hands on these weapons later on. We set the enemy ablaze, burning them to a crisp as they tried to burst through our gate. Then a new character called Dry Devil beckoned me to follow him up to the battlements on the other side of the fortress. This unknown enemy climbs the walls with ladders and we knock them down like it's Helm's Deep. Then we get into one of the many amazing cinematics, where Hans is struck by an arrow yet again, and he starts to reflect on his journey, which at this point we know nothing about, and there's no Henry in sight. The scale of this battle is shown to us, and after such an epic hands-on introduction, we can finally get back to Henry and start our journey in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We are in the present again with Henry and Hans, and after playing KCD1 so recently, I can remember leaving on our journey at the end of that game and taking this similar looking path from Rattay on our journey to meet Lord Otto von Berghof at his castle in the region of Trotsky. So our task is simply to deliver a letter to ask for help in deciding a king to rule Bohemia. What could possibly go wrong? The environment looks absolutely beautiful, and we can see Trotsky Castle in the distance atop a huge hill. We were almost there, but that would make a rather quick story, wouldn't it? And thanks to the intro, we know everything's going to go to pot at some point. Then we get straight into gameplay, right where we left off, riding pebbles alongside Hans and our band of merry men. Almost immediately we run into trouble. A group of soldiers come riding down to confront us. Luckily they are wearing von Berghof's colours, so they are his soldiers. They are wary of us because bandits have been running rampant in the surrounding area. This was an opportunity to decide which stats I wanted to increase at the beginning of the game, as Henry steps up, and I decided the sort of role I would take. I was going to go with a higher speech stat, as high speech always got me out of trouble in KCD1. I find it extremely important. There are also a few new persuasion options now: coercion, domination, and dread, if you want your Henry to be a bit more aggressive and mean. Some of these dialogue options are hilarious. I managed to convince them that we were delivering a message to their lord, and they were going to let us past, giving us the heads up about the bandits.
You can escort us to Trotsky, and everything will be explained there. That we can guarantee.
Very well.
The captain then introduced himself to us and let us be. A great character I was looking forward to hopefully seeing more of later.
Thomas, Captain at Trotsky. Thank you. And sorry again.
We decided to make camp to rest and clean up before our final trip to Trotsky Castle, and I could become reacquainted with everyone, including my trusty steed Pebbles and my dog Mutt, whom I didn't actually meet before, but I'll be going back and doing all of the KCD1 DLC while I wait for the KCD2 DLC to arrive, don't worry. I wanted to do every bit of content, even if it wasn't trophy related, so I took an optional objective to feed my canine friend. Oates here wasn't very happy with Mutt, so I'd have to earn Mutt's snack.
Listen, would you have some scraps for Mutt?
That's a good one. He already gobbled up a piece of venison while I was having a piss.
I had to beat Tankard at a game of dice to get Oates' ring back. Then he'd trade the ring for a juicy sausage for Mutt. I'd missed playing dice. I played it really safe at first, and Tankard ended up destroying me.
Ha ha! My lucky dice never fail.
That's just great.
For the next attempt, I completely trashed him in my first turn. It felt good.
Mother of... Damn your eyes. You played well. What's to be done? A bet is a bet. Here's your ring.
I gave Oates his ring back, and now I had a sausage in my hands. This was all ultimately there to teach me mechanics and how to feed my dog. But it was fun. Good boy. Then came time to earn my first trophy. I had to defeat Hans in training again, reminiscent of our first duel back in KCD1. We went through all the basics again, which was cleverly recalled out loud by Henry to imply that he isn't a greenhorn anymore. And then it was time to duel for real, and I was very out of practice and got beaten. I forgot to save the game, so I redid everything and headed back over to Hans. Whoops. Oh, that's one way to get over a fence, I guess, Hans. I took my time, making sure my stamina didn't deplete as much, and whittled Hans down. Much easier this time around.
Fuck me!
And there's the first trophy. Deja vu. Nice little reference to the first game. A nice hint for those of you currently playing the game: if you go to this cave at the back of our little dueling arena, you can open a chest containing a really overpowered dice that often rolls ones. But I recommend coming back to this area later, as later events cause you to lose everything that you have on you at this moment of time. I made the mistake of picking it up in the here and now, and I lost it later, which sucks. We then all sat down for a bonding session, and my dialogue choices determined more early stat gains, which was very much like Fallout when you choose your special stats. Even though we were camping in a forest, after being warned about bandits, Hans was still Hans, and he decided to go for a wash in the giant pond right beside us. Henry was his bodyguard after all, so he was goaded into joining him until Hans heard his favourite sound.
What's the matter?
Females!
This was the game's way of introducing the stealth mechanics, having Hans and Henry wade through the reeds to hopefully find wenches washing themselves in the water. A lovely new mechanic is the ability to lob stones to distract or annoy people with, a very welcome and useful addition to the game. Hans found what he was looking for, but it was short-lived as we discovered much more. All of a sudden, our camp was under attack from bandits, typical as soon as Hans does something he shouldn't. All of our men are sadly massacred right after our little chinwag by the fire. They didn't stand a chance and our camp was ransacked. The bandits then turned their attention to the women by the pond, and Henry seemed to pluck courage out of thin air and do something about it, even though he was almost naked and had no gear on him. Oh, Henry.
Hey! What the fuck are you doing? Hey! Hands off her, you brute! What the hell's going on here? Let her go, you pigs!
That bastard's with them!
Fucking hell!
You couldn't just leave it be, could you?
Come on! Run!
The mysterious, heavily armoured bandit leader killed his own man to release the woman from his grip, showing her a sign of respect almost as if he knew who she was, and she could then escape. Henry and Hans, on the other hand, were trying to swim for their lives, making a reference to the fact that Henry can't swim because you can't go into deep water in these games. But eventually they made it to the other side, almost unscathed.
What the fuck was that, Henry? You rescuing a damsel in distress?
I'm done with running.
Oh, really? And what exactly do you call... Oh, shit. Oh, you've been hit.
What? shit.
Hans rips the arrow out of Henry's back, and miraculously he can continue with Hans through the woods, sneaking past the bandits whom are relentlessly searching for them. Just when we think we're out of the woods, one of the bandits grabs Henry and an intense scrap ensues. Mott appears from nowhere to save Henry, which gives him time to grapple the bandit, but this leads to Henry taking a little tumble off a cliff. If you know, you know. Henry is clearly KO'd, and we see his adoptive father Martin the blacksmith again in the same place from KCD1. It gives Henry the motivation to wake up.
You still have a long way to go till your work is done, Henry. So pull yourself together and wake up. It's not over yet.
For the love of God, wake up! Pull yourself together, Henry. Oh, thank Christ. Oh, I thought you were done for.
Henry is battered, bruised, and losing loads of blood from his arrow wound. He starts hallucinating in the middle of the forest while Hans is trying to carry him to safety. This is a clever way of reflecting on the events from the beginning of KCD1 in Skalitz. Henry is reliving his waking nightmare and the brutal death of his parents. Hans eventually snaps Henry out of it, finds a herbswoman's humble abode and asks her to help sort Henry out. But trouble had followed us.
Now I've got you, whore sons. Think against scum!
Are you alive, lad?
Henry amazingly survives and wakes up with his body now bandaged up and mostly cleaned. Thankfully, Hans is alive and well and has had the same treatment. Thanks to the intro, we know he survives, but these situations are always stressful throughout the game because they're written and directed really well. Henry is well enough to be up and about again, and he finds out the name of his saviour.
God reward you 1,000-fold. What's your name, by the way?
Bushenna's my name.
Well, I'm Henry.
I know. Hans told me.
In classic video game fashion, we need some sort of explanation for our loss of main levels and perks, and that's the terrible fall we had from the cliff. It's a simple explanation, but it works for me. We are peasant Henry again, or crippled Henry I guess. Except we can read English from the start. The Latin though, he seems to have forgotten. Now I could wake up and say hello to the world. I ate some breakfast, bandaged myself, robbed a corpse, wait what? Washed myself in a trough, and then buried a body for an old lady. All in a day's work. I then had the task of picking herbs to make a potion to aid in Hans' recovery. This was giving me PTSD from having to pick 10,000 herbs in KCD1. On my way back to Bojenna's house, Henry could hear a commotion and grabbed an axe on his way back. There were rough-looking men confronting Bojenna. I was going to sneak up on them and hack them to pieces, but they saw me first. They claimed to be working for Lord Bergov, but they looked dodgy as hell, so I used my speech level to outsmart them and unravel their web of lies.
I'm Pavel, and I'm here to help Bojenna. I don't know anything about any attack, but I met some of von Bergov's men in the woods too. They had his shields and Waffenrocks. They were looking for some cutthroats. I gave them directions here, so you can join them once they get here.
Fuck.
What's the matter?
Nothing, fuck it. Just tell them we'll wait for them in the tavern in Jelioff, alright?
So the bandits toddled along and I could get cracking with making a concoction that would help Hans. Now time for an alchemy introduction. I really enjoyed this minigame from KCD1, they've just made things better and smoother now. And you can lower the pot to boil your ingredients without having to spam the bellows. With the task completed, potion made, it was time for a well-earned rest. I call this the Wheel of Time. It's a lot nicer in KCD2, shows more information, and the time also travels faster now, so that's a nice quality of life update for us. The following day, Henry was then awoken by Pavlena, Bojenna's daughter, and she's definitely not as innocent as she looks, but she's nice enough to look after Henry and Hans while they recover. Henry then strolled outside to find Hans laughing and joking as if he'd never been cut to pieces by a bandit in the first place. We then sat down with Bojenna and Pavlena and reminisced about stories from the first game, where Henry had saved Hans' life multiple times. Another great moment for fans of KCD1. It was finally time to say our goodbyes to the lovely ladies that saved us. We witness a heartfelt moment, and Bojana even gives Henry a few groschen to get himself back on his feet. Henry and Hans journey on foot through forests and then the town of Troskowitz towards Trotsky Castle, and we get a second awesome introduction to the game, which goes from witnessing the game's beautiful setting to then showing us the lighter side of things with Henry and Hans. They finally made it to Trotsky Castle after that minor setback, you know, both almost dying. But Henry and Hans are both still in high spirits. I am biased because I love these games and actors, but I love all of these genuine feeling moments so much.
And I can't wait to sleep in a proper bed. And some wine!
Oh, fucking hell.
Things wouldn't be as simple as they'd hoped though. They were wearing old clothes and Hans stole his from a dead bandit. And without the letter to Lord Bergov on their person anymore, how could they even prove who they are?
Fucking shit! Fuck! You fucking Do you know who I am? No, we fucking don't! I am Sir Hans Capon of Perkstein, heir to Ratai! Now, look here, you filthy beggar! I'm not here for your amusement, so get your stinking, ragged asses out of here on the double. The pair of you!
Henry and Hans tried to explain who they were to Ulrich, the Chamberlain of Trotsky Castle. He gives off Disney villain vibes. They claimed that Hans Capon was dead at the hands of bandits, and they would not listen to us at all, standing there in rags and now covered in poop. Henry mentions that Captain Thomas could vouch for us, but we then find out that his company was also attacked by bandits and he is on his deathbed within the castle. Things weren't looking good. So we went downhill back to Troskowitz to mull things over at the local tavern. And Hans was really struggling to get to terms with the fact that he wasn't going to be treated like a noble here.
Have you two got any groschen?
What do you take me for, wench?
For someone who stinks like a badger.
Henry and Hans asked for a hearty meal and some drinks, but they would have to work to pay it off later. Whilst enjoying their drinks and making the most of this terrible situation, a familiar face came by which gave them a glimmer of hope.
What's that woman from the pond?
Or the one you gave us away for?
I bear that wench. Wench!
What I tell you? What are you waiting for? She can vouch for who we are. Go to her!
So off Henry went, but it wasn't going to be easy to gain an audience with someone when you're half dead and smelling like dung.
Oh my. Ugh. Can you smell that too?
Oof. It stinks like something died here.
Henry gave himself a quick wash in the trough and spoke to this woman, Catherine, in hopes of her helping him. But she acted so shady and denied ever seeing him.
You were attacked by those bandits.
What bandits? What are you on about?
Catherine works over at Trotsky Castle, and we'll bump into her again later. But I've been calling it from the start, something is off about her. But anyway, it was time to work off our lunch. Not just the calories, but Henry was left to carry sacks of produce into the tavern and pay back the innkeeper. Hans refused to help and was acting like an arse, and not long after he got himself in trouble again as usual, this time with the local bailiff's son.
And you can stop spouting your pathetic lies.
I am Sir Hans Capon, Lord of Perkstein, and I demand your immediate apology.
I am Sir Hans Capon, Lord of Perkstein. Sir Hans Capon, Lord of Perkstein.
Hans still hadn't matured enough to take this mockery lightly. Honestly, I was cracking up and Hans deserved this, but things escalated once again. And then of course, a huge brawl broke out that Henry got dragged into as well.
What the hell is going on here? Grab them vagabonds!
Hans really did it this time. Smacking that guard in the face got us locked up for 24 hours, bringing Henry and Hans' friendship to the edge.
You know, if you just shut up and done some work, we'd have coin by now and be on our way to the castle, but no, not his lordship.
You've got a nerve. If you hadn't have played the hero, we'd have been there long since and I wouldn't have had to get you out of that mess.
Oh yeah, because this isn't a mess, is it?
Fuck off! Shut up! You'll get a whipping too.
To make things worse, we then witnessed the man we're here to see head off away from the castle to God knows where. Things couldn't get any worse, could they?
Isn't that...
Otto!
Hey! Go!
When all was said and done, Hans was furious with Henry, even though Hans is mostly to blame, and he wandered off saying he will make it to the bailiff's daughter's wedding to meet Otto von Berghoff there. This then awarded me my first story trophy of the journey. I could now finally explore the world with no restraints. I was beckoned over by a beggar called Bara, and she gave me advice on where I could go and what I could do. She basically told me to steal money and clothes, but also recommended a swordsmaster to me, someone in a nomad encampment called Tomcat. I discovered a murder with pigs eating the corpse, and because everyone thought I was a bum and a criminal, I had some interesting exchanges with guards.
Don't think I can't see you.
Relax. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Lucky for you.
Later on during my exploration of the world, I came across a creepy woman in the forest at night holding a lantern. I feel like this must have surely been an Easter egg because she apparently knows Henry and acts like she's the Grim Reaper or something, witnessing what happened in Skalitz too.
We have seen each other many times. Why have you left it until now to stop by?
I don't remember seeing you before.
Really? I have always been with you whenever you... Well, never mind. Just consider how many times you have had me by your side. I am leaving now. Good luck, Henry of Skalitz.
You know my name? And you know where I'm from?
I was there. It kept me very busy.
Super weird. I wonder if anyone can explain this to me. She hints that every time you die in the game she's with you, a smart way of explaining respawns too if she's some sort of guardian angel. I left her alone and went off to look for my dog, Mutt. This was one of the side quests given to me now. I heard rumours of a dog near one of the large ponds in the area, so woke up a fisherman from his sleep to ask him questions. Sorry pal, it's important.
Since you're always walking around the ponds here, did you notice a stray dog wandering about?
What? A dog? Do you think he came here to poach fish?
Well, he wasn't very helpful now, was he? Next, I stumbled upon a hunter's home and his wife was extremely worried about him. His name is Vostatek and he often goes off hunting and drinking. A very bad mixture when there's so many wolves about. He hadn't come back, so it was up to Henry to go looking for him. I was a bit naughty here and tried to pickpocket the wife at night, but someone must have noticed me in their house, so I was confronted the next day, and the dialogue cracked me up when I used my speech level to get out of trouble.
Look, can you keep a secret?
What are you talking about? What secret?
Look, we're both men, aren't we?
Where are you going with this? You're testing my patience.
It's like this. Yesterday, I met this pretty girl. She makes yarn. And you know what they say about girls who work with spinning wheels?
No, what?
They're really good in bed.
That's a good one.
Well, this yarn spinner, she was very afraid her mother would find out we planned on meeting. So she gives me these complicated directions on where to meet her. At high noon, I stood at the shadow of the tallest linden tree, and step by step, I set out. Then all of a sudden, I look around and realise I have no idea where I am. The girl's nowhere to be seen, and people are yelling at me. That girl made a right fool of me.
That's what you get for thinking with your prick.
Aye. I've had enough embarrassment for one lifetime. Can't we just let this one slide?
All right then. I'll turn a blind eye, just this once.
Ah, brilliant. But when this cutscene ended, he must have accidentally released an arrow. Henry was struck right in the gut. Luckily, because it was a bug, I took no damage though. Moving on, I went off to find the drunken hunter, Vostatek, and he'd been chased up a tree by wolves. Now, to avoid killing them for the Lent trophy, I needed to just punch and kick them to death. This would count as a knockout, not a kill, even though they die. Just keep checking your stat screen to make sure it says animals killed, 0. Once I had dealt with the wolves, it was time to deal with this plonker Vostatek. He's such a great character though.
It's all right now. You can come down.
Thank God! I was starting to think I'd turn into a branch. Watch out! I'm coming down! Jesus! Mary Joseph! And an arse! My foot! Ah! Sacra!
This moron had busted his foot and I was the muggins that had to carry him back to his camp so he could get onto his horse, Pepig. I wanted to share some of the dialogue during this ridiculous quest, because I loved it. He's a pain in the ass, but Vostatek is also brilliant.
Which way?
That way!
For Christ's sake, I can't see where you're pointing.
Oh, damn it! Man! I told you to be careful! You're carrying me like a corpse!
How else should I carry you? Like a bride?
At least I wouldn't have to stare at your arse. Just stop flailing about so much.
Oh, don't you dare puke on me.
Oh, no.
Oh, don't do it.
Bloody nasty. I nearly painted your back. Here's the anthill. Look at those fellas go. They're as busy as hell. It's making me thirsty looking at them. You know what? Take me to the ale house instead.
What?
I said fuck it. Let's go for a drink. Yeah! Take me to tacos. They've got the best ale.
Are you kidding me? It's a long way to the tavern, isn't it?
You'll manage. Yeah!
So now he wanted to go to the tavern, which was bloody miles away. But eventually he had a change of heart again.
Kurva! Fuck! I forgot! Henry, wait up! We can't go to the tavern. It was a great idea and all, but what about Pepig? He's surely thirsty too. I can't just leave him high and dry. Pepig! Pepig! Where's our big ear boy?
Epic!
Good idea. We just have to yell louder. Peppy! We're here. Put me down. Where's Peppy? Shit.
Whilst Vostatek was up a tree, bandits had stolen his horse, so I snuck into their camp at night and stole the horse back, spilling no blood. We then rode back to Vostatek's home to give his wife the good news. Completing this funny quest unlocked a bunch more quests for me to complete, where I needed to hunt down poachers in the woods, so this quest is a must if you're going for the been there done that trophy. With the groschen I received as my reward, I decided to do some good with it and pay back herbswoman Bojena for saving Henry and Hans.
Thank you once again for saving Sir Hans's life, and mine. I promised I'd pay you back, and I keep my word. So please accept this token of gratitude on behalf of me and Sir Hans.
Thank you, Henry. You're an honourable man who doesn't make promises lightly. I'll put it aside for Pavlena, but don't waste any more time on me and go and look for Pavlena. I'm very worried about her.
And that's how you earn the trophy, a knight's word. Up a hill from Bojena's home was a small bandit camp. It's always good to hunt down bandits to raid their camps for loot. And I could also go for a trophy for killing an enemy with a combo. At the start, all I really had was a left-right-left combo, and vice versa. But it gets the job done. Eventually I got back on track looking for Mutt, which would get me a trophy for finding him, and he's extremely useful to have with you. And all the information I had gathered led me to believe he had been inducted into a wolf pack, so off I went looking for vicious wolves. Stumbling through the forest one night led me to something bizarre.
What? Matt, come here. Good boy, good boy.
Now I had my trophy and Mutt could now take out wolves for me, making it even easier to earn the Lent trophy at the end of the game. I recommend finding Mutt as soon as possible. He can help fight and make quests easier with his tracking abilities. I ran for my life to try and avoid conflict with the wolves, which kind of failed, and then I could travel back to town with my doggo. But on the way I met a happy man in the road. I decided to stop by and share a drink with him, as he was celebrating the fact that he was going to be a father. Mutt was barking at the man, so I did feel that something was wrong.
Ugh! That was fucking disgusting! What? Fuck! What was in that drink? Oh, Dopperdelle! That Horson robbed me!
Perhaps a warning to not talk to strangers. But I did that exact thing again and spoke to some humans in the tavern in Troskowitz. The lady of the tavern wanted me to get rid of them, but our war was over, so I decided to defend them from the abuse of the locals and this ongoing arsehole Wojtek.
Leave them alone.
You're defending those horse fuckers? Birds of a feather, eh?
You don't even know who they are.
You think I don't? They're fucking humans. They burn and pillage every village they come across, and you're standing up for them. You fucking traitor.
Of course I understood where Wojtek was coming from, but soldiers and mercenaries are told what to do. It's not always personal. We ended up having yet another brawl in the same tavern. I felt bad for the owner at this point. After the scrap, I caught up with Vasco, the leader of the group of humans, and he invited Henry back to his camp to drink. And drink we did. Henry and Vasco got absolutely trolleyed and stumbled through the forest to find more booze. There was apparently a stash of moonshine nearby.
Do you hear those dogs? What about we sing something? Sing loud and strong. Shagging, shaggy, shagging, shag.
Singing, shagging, singing, shag.
Jij de kenne, shag it, shag.
I ducky now, shake its egg.
Elves city key to cat.
Elves all hate to hit a cat.
Barky ocky take nap out.
Barking oh he take nap, yes.
I'm not sure that the Hungarian booze only contains alcohol, because Henry ended up talking to a Scottish dog.
Here's that stash. Just like that dog told me.
We then drank some more, and Henry and Vasco were trying to compare their feats to one another. Vasco challenged Henry to a swimming contest. This could only go badly.
I'm the greatest! Oh, Buzzmag. Don't fall, you idiot!
You call an idiot, You got me shitting me. Where am I? How did I get here?
Be careful!
Jesus Christ! Oh, God! I'm gonna fall! I'm gonna drown here!
Calm down! You'll not move!
And how the fuck am I supposed to do that when the world's spinning?
Ez egy őrült! Ha meg fog fulladni!
Oh, God! What am I supposed to do? I want to go back!
You are madman, Henry!
How do you say madman in your language?
Blonde.
Bolon. A blonde madman. Now, one more beer and I'll start speaking your language.
Bottoms up! Agus shigedra.
To all the bolons and busty blondes.
Henry then got so drunk that he even somehow learnt their language.
Uruluk? Columeroso for Tatodna?
Mia fanos. Henry, you're better led than the elven cat.
Astenalok, Amutakarok. Edzer kikene probalnot.
As urult.
Tevajas urult.
No argue. I mean, nevitatkos. Ich inkab. Agashigunkler.
I had no idea what this then said, but we probably drank until we passed out, and Henry was so hungover the next day. Henry let Wojtek know that the Cumans wouldn't be coming back to Troskowitz, and my god, it was funny seeing Henry wasted during conversations for the first time. A great addition to KCD2. While still smashed, I embarked on a quest to find out why Pavlena had disappeared, and I found her taken captive by someone from Troskowitz.
Why are you doing this? Why pick on Pavlena?
It's Yakash's doing. Bozhena killed his son. He was always on about paying her back for it. And he's got a huge fucking farm and 2 daughters to marry off. He'd never give them to ordinary farmhands, unless he owed them a debt.
So you did it to get into his good books?
It was the only way. I don't want to spend my whole life shoveling shit.
Even whilst wankered, Henry somehow managed to talk this guy down from killing her. I found it so ironic doing this part whilst drunk. But this wasn't a happy ending after all.
Alright. Just take it easy. I'm letting her go.
Die!
Look!
Die! Die! That's for Roman! You bastard!
I was so drunk that I couldn't even sprint anymore. I was really missing an old friend. In the south of Trotsky was a place called Semin, and as I was exploring everywhere to unlock fast travel points anyway, I decided to take a trip down here where I bumped into someone special.
Wait, that's my Pebbles, my girl. I thought they killed you down by that pond.
It was Pebbles! And I didn't even know she was a girl. That was news to me. I immediately tried to get her back, and a high speech level came to the rescue again and saved me some money.
That grey horse you have grazing here is mine.
What do you mean yours? I bought it fair and square. I admit, it was only for a few groschen from some suspicious lad who found it down by the Rock Tower Pond, but that horse is not branded, so it belongs to me now.
Eventually he saw reason and decided to give Pebbles back for free if she came to me when I whistled.
Go and get her then. If she remembers you, she might even come when you whistle for her.
The gang was now back together. I couldn't wait to stop all that walking. I then decided to celebrate at the now well-known Troskowitz Tavern and got rat-arsed with some strangers. This guy was a right weirdo, but he made me laugh.
Hey, listen. Say thumb.
Thumb?
Stick it up your bum.
Genius. It's hard to believe you're still single.
I then eventually blacked out drunk and woke up in a field, and someone had pinched my shoes. Oh well, that earned me a trophy. Later on in my journey, I entered an archery contest held by Vostatek's son. I was a right idiot and was shooting the wrong target most of the time, so I barely won once I switched over to the right one. I was just trying to get some practice in for the headshot trophy later. Then I stole a horse and sold it to a dodgy guy at the Nomad's camp. It was worth over 1,000 groschen, but unfortunately, he only had 355 groschen on him. But that's still a good amount of cash for a 10-minute job. For some reason, this happened to the poor horse afterwards though. My main objective was to get into the wedding so I could meet Otto von Berghoff, and I could do this by either helping the miller or the blacksmith. I'm aiming to complete all the content, so I just went with the miller first, one of the dodgy guys that would train me to pickpocket and pick locks more efficiently. For now, he just wanted me to do some heavy lifting. Carrying sacks seems to happen a lot in KCD2.
Oh, fuck me.
Careful what you wish for. Go on, get to work.
So I got on with the work. Henry was not happy at all, and these sacks were way too heavy to contain flour.
Fucking hell. Oh, what a slog.
After some time, Henry made quite the discovery. Another miller, another dodgy dealing. These sacks definitely didn't contain flour. After finding bullets in the sacks, the miller then explained himself and then let me into his inner circle. I trained my thieving skills as much as possible and even stole a rare book from the rat house in Troskowitz. I then took a break from these thieving quests to help out someone in another village. 2 villages had a feud with one another, and I could decide to help either one, or eventually sort them both out to earn a trophy. For now I was helping one side, starting with chopping down a maypole in the dead of night, and delivering it as proof the next morning.
Say, I have this fancy maypole from Takov here if you're interested.
My God! They're going to slit them toast! Nobody's got them this good in years! You're a champ, Henry! As soon as I saw you, I knew you had it in you.
This gentleman, old Olbram, really liked his pranks. Next he had me chasing their sheep away into the forest. He was such a petty man, but it was hilarious.
I'll tell you, friend. We're going to meet the Takovites at our pasture and try to sort it out. And if we don't get through to them, we'll kick their arses.
Now I had started the Battle of the Frogs and Mice quest. This was the one I needed for the trophy. I went to the bailiff in Troskowitz and told them that they were all going to meet up to fight over a pasture. The bailiff didn't really care, but I convinced him to help by finding out information in a book and translating it from Latin to figure out that both villages should be splitting the pasture down the middle. The bailiff then helped me defuse the situation when they were about to start their showdown.
The pasture is split in half. From here to that oak over there is Zhelyov property, and from the oak on it belongs to Takhov.
We're supposed to share with them?
Ha! How do you know? You're not even from around here.
But unlike you, yokels, he can read. It's all there, black on white, in the Troskowitz Chronicle.
That's another missable trophy earned, and we avoided a huge kerfuffle. I may have stopped those lot having a fist fight, but now it was time for Henry to get his knuckles bloody, by challenging all of the Miller's lads to fights, so that he could be entered in a local fighting tournament. This would lead to a trophy later on. I had to defeat Hansel, Malik, and Vera for the Miller to recognise my fighting skills, and I really wiped them out.
And if you want to train a bit more, just punch the shit out of them sissies of mine.
Now I would be entered into the tournament and could fight my way to the top. With those fodder out of the way, I then took on a quest called The Best for Last, and had to travel a long way to find a Grandmaster of hand-to-hand combat. A kind man who now lived in peace and grew herbs to sell. He didn't expect to be taking the gardening gloves off again, but he eventually agreed to fight, and boy does this guy hit hard. But eventually I beat him and we enjoyed a drink together afterwards. What a gentleman. Defeating herbalist Barnaby awarded me with the trophy, Henry the Bruiser. Now, in KCD 1, I spent the whole game with my noble steed Pebbles. If you've seen those videos, you know I faffed over Pebbles. So now in KCD 2, I felt it was time I experience a new horse, for more speed and carry capacity. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford anything amazing, so I just went for a larger carry capacity for now, and just a cooler looking horse in general. Sorry Pebbles, but I deserve this. Now say hello to Bitterclee. I then went back to the quests where I had to hunt down poachers, and without doing these quests, you'd never guess who I bumped into.
Sir Hans, I'm here hunting poachers, and I come across you.
Henry! I never expected you here.
I was sent here by the Nebakov gamekeeper. He said there are poachers here, and I don't have to be King Solomon to figure out who the poacher is, do I? Oh, Jesus. You couldn't choose something different? There's all sorts of ways to make money.
Look, no one found me here until you turned up. And you're only here because you're doing some terribly noble deed again and helping out old grannies in distress. And this is how it turns out.
Are you fucking serious?
Poaching is punishable by death, so even though we had fallen out, I wasn't going to snitch on Hans. I just let him be. Moving forward, I then decided to work for the blacksmith Radovan, but I was sidetracked by another quest first. I listened to a local legend of a silver axe and went off to see if it was real. It turned out it was true to some degree, and I dug up the legendary axe from a grave. I tried repairing the axe, but completely failed because I skipped my blacksmith training. Oops. So first it was time to learn from Radovan before going back to the silver axe quest. Blacksmithing was an awesome new minigame and made sense since Henry is the son of a blacksmith after all. Once I had made a sword for Radovan as a test, I earned a trophy for completing all of the game's minigames. I then cooked myself up a nice new shiny axe that would sell for a nice wad of groschen. Then Radovan sent me off to Samin to check on his hired hands that were meant to be delivering supplies, and I received a terrible welcoming.
Oh, you wee bastard! What the devil's name is fucking going on here?
What do you think's going on, Grandad? I'm teaching your people here how we do things.
Grandad?
Why, Grandad? An old captain like you probably still remember the flood.
True enough, Yurko. I am old. And I remember all sorts of things. Like you. When you were a little nipper running around here bare arse, with a ribbon in your hair, screaming out how you was Princess Sophie. Poor lad, hadn't a moment's peace from his big sisters.
The old legend was Captain Gnarly, and the man upstairs was Lord Jan Samin. I explained the situation and they said that the supplies never arrived. So we went on a little excursion to go and find out what had happened to Radovan's helpers. Gnarly and Lord Samin are fantastic characters, and this little trip was a great bonding session. We stopped off for a quick sparring match, and I felt bad absolutely battering Lord Samin, but I was humble in victory. Gnarly even gifted me his mace and shield.
Isn't that a bit too much, Gnarly?
Sir, my left shoulder's fucked anyway. I can't carry no shield.
True enough.
Thank you.
We quickly stopped off in Troskowitz for information, and apparently the idiots carrying the supplies were speeding through town, causing sacks of charcoal to fly off the wagon. But at least now we had a breadcrumb trail to follow.
Hey! I found the blacksmith's cart! Come here!
We followed a trail from the cart and heard voices up ahead. I was going to attack from above while Gnarly and Lord Samin attacked head on. Once we had taken out these bandits, we pushed on. And further ahead, we crept up on a camp where the hired hands were. They were planning on bringing the supplies to a man called Gules, a noble that was trying to make some quick cash. We confronted Gules and his band of crooks and defeated them all in combat, arresting them and bringing them back with us on the back of the cart. But Gules was going to get off lightly because he was a noble after all. I returned to Radovan with the news and he rewarded me for my troubles, and I had now finished almost every quest in the area, so was now going to continue with the main story, and that was a huge event, the wedding in Samin. I decided to enter the wedding with the help of the miller, and this required me to ask a woman to pretend she was a noble and accompany us there, so that she could distract the Trotsky Chamberlain, because he's a bit of a perv. I asked a woman from the nomad camp, Enelin, and I gave her a fancy dress, perfume, and wine. I also had to dress Henry up all fancy. You can have multiple loadouts in KCD2, so I always had a fancy outfit with high charisma on standby. Once inside, I could mingle with anyone I wanted to. Completing all the side quests first made this so much better. I knew way more characters and could have different interactions with them, such as seeing the drunken gamekeeper Vostatak again.
Henry! Finally! You have no idea how happy I am to see you again!
Likewise. How are you?
How can I put this? I'm in a fix.
Oh? What happened this time?
Look around you. This much booze. This won't end well. You have to help me.
Like how?
How? You have to make sure I don't get drunk. If you see me with booze in my hands, don't let me drink it, or it'll end badly for me.
So I'm supposed to follow you around and mind you like a child?
Well, I surely appreciate it.
There's so many optional things to do at the wedding, it's a great milestone in the game. I'm fairly sure I talked to everyone here, even if I failed some optional objectives. This old lady wanted me to dance with her daughter, but she was terrible at dancing. What has poor Henry gotten himself into now? She steps on his feet and he literally loses health. It's hilarious. I was so tempted to tell her she's awful at dancing, but I couldn't help but be nice and tell her she dances like a fairy. I then had a chat with Vostatek's son and the bailiff's son, the one that hilariously mocked Hans in the tavern earlier. And he's actually great. They both dared Henry to go and rescue a woman that the arsehole Wojtek was bugging. And of course I accepted.
You're a joke. And that's all you can do to amuse Mishka?
If you hadn't interrupted us so rudely, I'd have recited a poem to the girl.
You? A poem? You mean one that rhymes? Like darling dear, bring me a beer.
So recite one yourself if you're so clever.
I really shouldn't have recited one.
Holding on to the grass, he squatted over the pit. The grass broke, he fell right in, and covered his ass in shit.
What? Are you a fucking idiot? Saying such disgusting stuff to a decent girl?
You can talk. It looks like she's all fired up from your sweet talk. Did your ma teach you that?
You leave my ma out of this, you prick.
Shut up, the pair of you! I've had quite enough of your cock-measuring contest.
I'd love to go back and see all the outcomes of this. It's bloody hilarious. And the lads had a good laugh at Henry's expense too. I then bumped into Gules, who had gotten away with punishment for his shenanigans earlier. He's actually a nice guy, and he gives you lots of side activities to do, hunting down his old gang members. I then went back to the wedding and was called over by the woman I danced with earlier. Henry came up with a great excuse to reject her.
Dobravka, I don't want to hear it. I know what you want from me. And I also know you wouldn't be happy.
But why not? I mean, we get on great.
It's a bit embarrassing, but I have a weakness.
That still won't put me off. What weakness?
I once got kicked by a horse in the... Well, you know... And since then, I just can't.
You can't what?
I can't serve as a husband. Nor as a lover. I just can't.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. So, well, forget I said anything. Take care.
The Chamberlain then approached me to ask where Enlil had gone, or rather, Kvyetta, which was her alias. I went searching for her for the Chamberlain and stumbled upon a familiar face yet again.
Oh yeah. I might have known you'd be behind it.
I reckon he's talking to you.
Henry, what the fuck are you...
How the hell did you get in here?
What's it to you? I just did. I can take care of myself even without you on my arse.
Hannes would jump for joy if he saw how independent you've become. As a poacher.
Shh! Shut up! Are you out of your mind?
I did not hear a word.
And then to make things worse, Wojtek showed up again. Absolutely off his face.
Why are you bothering my girl?
You again.
What do you mean, your girl? Bugger off, arsehole.
I was talking to her first. I was just getting some wine.
Kvyetta doesn't give a damn about you. Got it? Go and find a corner somewhere where you can pull your plonker, and next time try your luck with some ninny more on your level, yokel.
So, you've gagged up on me, eh? First you make a fool of me, and then this prick?
I almost felt bad for Wojtek. Almost. But either way, things weren't looking good, and everyone was getting more and more drunk. I also completely forgot about Vostatek, and his wife spoke to me asking if I had seen him. I felt so bad. I wish I had helped keep him sober, but it was kind of funny when I found him.
Henry, you promised me you'd watch me. And look at the state I'm in now.
Oh well. What do we do with you now?
You have to help me get back on my meat.
Meat? What meat?
On my feet, I said. Feet. Henry, have you been thinking?
What, me?
You? What about you? Are you drunk? Or what?
Good God, how am I supposed to help you get back on your feet?
After the wedding ceremony, Henry found the bride hiding away crying. He simply comforted her and had a chat. But guess who comes knocking yet again and completely gets the wrong idea? The arsehole.
Oh, fucking hell! It's you again!
Oh, mate! Fuck off, mate!
You wanna fuck the bride, huh?
It's not what you think!
What are you doing, you drunken fool?
Someone's been coveting the neighbour's wife, eh?
Bollocks!
I'm not going to blame you, but you might have waited until this all went home.
Let's be having you! Let's be having you!
Now we really were crashing the wedding. A mass brawl broke out in usual Henry and Hans fashion, and I just wanted to make sure I knocked Wojtek out for pissing me off so much. The Chamberlain wasn't impressed in the slightest, and von Berghoff never showed up to the wedding, so we still couldn't prove who we were.
Quickly, for the love of God, sort out this rabble before they turn everything into firewood!
Meanwhile, we are whisked away to a familiar place. Good old Ujits back home, where our old friend Father Godwin is still drinking himself silly and ploughing as many fields as he can, if you get my drift. He is visited by the most welcome of faces. Sir Radzig and Sir Hanush finally appear in KCD2. I was absolutely buzzed to see them again.
Distinguished guests, for the love of God. Does it have to be him?
Trust me, friend.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
We need to have a word with you.
They hadn't heard from Henry and Hans in ages. After all, we'd gone through so much and essentially failed our simple delivery mission. So they were now sending Godwin out to find us. Seeing as he would be respected by the poor, the noble, and the holy, he was the perfect man to send on this mission, despite his many flaws. Back in Trotsky, things were going terribly. Henry and Hans had been arrested for fighting at the wedding and didn't know what was going to happen to them next. Until eventually the guards came along to release just Henry. And the awful heart-in-mouth moment arrives when we hear of Hans Capon's fate.
What about me? I want to talk to the captain right now!
You want to talk to God, fella. You're getting the gallows for poaching.
What? You can't hang a nobleman!
Jesus, wait! Hear that? That bell's tolling for you, mate. 12 more times, and the priest will come for you. Hans!
But you can't!
Hans, don't worry, I'll fix it! Move it!
I'm a nobleman! Do you hear me? I'm a noble! I'm Sir Hans Capon of Bergstein.
I was so invested that this genuinely tore at my heartstrings. I now had 12 in-game hours to save Hans' life, starting with working off a debt by carrying sacks yet again. And whilst trying to get these chores out of the way as fast as possible so I could find a way to rescue Hans, I bumped into the arsehole that put us in this predicament in the first place, Wojtek.
Hey Wojtek, we've still got work to do. Come and help.
Can't you see I'm talking to someone?
I ain't seen you here. Are you new and all? Well, I'm Magda.
I'm Henry.
It's great to have some new lads here.
Oh, aye. Henry, how about you bugger off? I wouldn't want a repeat of our last disagreement.
Are you also helping Wojtek's uncle?
No, I'm not helping anyone's uncle. This is a punishment, just like with Wojtek here.
A punishment?
Aye. We got into a bit of a fight at Lord Samin's wedding.
What? Are you trying to make a fool of me?
Ah, that's not quite how it was.
You wretch.
Oh, thanks. You really are a
A While you're having fun chatting up girls, I'm hauling sacks. If anyone's a it's you.
I still had to finish some work, now smithing horseshoes for Trotsky Castle's terrible blacksmith, and I could hear the bells tolling every hour.
The first bell. Another 11 to go.
I was talking to anyone I could get information from on where Captain Thomas was. I needed to find him so that the truth would save Hans' life. I even jumped down a well to gain secret access to Hans' prison cell.
Ah, shit. Oh, this was a bad idea.
I spoke to Hans, but there wasn't much I could do. I thought maybe I could start some sort of prison break, but to my current knowledge, you can't just break Hans out. I then started sneaking around the castle looking for anything I could to help Hans, and I bumped into Catherine again, who was doing some sneaking of her own. We decided not to be tattletales and went our separate ways. I knew she was dodgy. Eventually I found Thomas at the top of the castle, being looked after by his sister. He had a fever and would die if I couldn't somehow save him, and if he died, Hans would die. Thanks to bumping into Catherine earlier, I knew exactly where to go to find what I needed. because she was in the Bonesaw's quarters. He had all sorts of medicines, but was currently off with von Bergov. So I got my hands on a lockpick, snuck my way back to the other side of the castle, and stole some medicine that would do just the trick. So I advise a high lockpicking level. I returned to Captain Thomas as fast as I could, but I was too late. This cutscene is really long, by the way, so feel free to skip it, but I left it in for context and because I found it amazing and really emotional.
You all to be vigilant. These days we have all sorts of vagabonds, drifters, outlaws and bandits roaming the country. And we have one of those vermin here today. A fella called Hans, who is clearly not right in the head. A dangerous madman, a brawler, and a thug, the worst of all, a poacher. And so, for the damages he caused to our dear Lord Otto von Berghoff, he is sentenced to be hanged by the neck until dead.
Stop! You can't execute this man. He's a noble. Captain Thomas here will testify that we're messengers from Ratoi.
What is this nonsense, for Christ's sake?
It's true. I am Sir Hans Capon of Perkstein.
Deal with it, for God's sake!
But sir, the captain!
Captain Thomas has a fever. He's clearly delirious. Seize them immediately.
You can't do this! I am a nobleman, do you hear? A noble! Get your hands off me! You can't do this!
Open the gates!
My lord?
What the hell is going on?
It was just a... It's a hanging.
You can't hang him. He's a noble.
That's for me to judge. Take him down! And for Christ's sake, help me off this horse!
Phew, that was close. Even though we see Hans during the intro, when you're really into the game, this scene still hits hard and had me worried for a second. But finally, Lord Otto arrives at last, after surviving an attack from bandits, hence him falling from his horse and losing consciousness. And for saving Hans, I was awarded a lovely story trophy to mark my progression. Now things were more or less back to normal. Otto was a fantastic lord and set everything straight for us. And he was now sending Henry and Hans on a mission to go to a place called Nebakov. Otto needed the soldiers there to help him in defeating the bandits that are now everywhere in Trotsky. The men at Nebakov owed Lord Otto a favour, so he simply had to ask for their aid. On our way out of the castle, Hans was reminded of the terrible few days he's had.
I could have croaked here and gone off to join my old man in eternity. God rest his soul, and he'd ask me, "So, son, what great deeds have you achieved in life?" And I'd have to tell him, Well, Pa, I fucked everything up royally, and then they hanged me for poaching.
We arrived at Nebakov Fortress to quite the warm welcome. Hans was going to have a quick meeting with Sir Yaramir, and I was to follow his captain Michael to meet the rest of their group, and kill time while I waited. The captain definitely wasn't acting like a knight though. He was a bit horrible to his men.
Have you got shit for brains? They've got a guess, for fuck's sake.
I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't know.
Shut your gob and attend to your duties.
I had plenty of time, so I decided to chat to everyone and do a bit of snooping around, and found the key to their prison cells. Using my trusty stone, I distracted the guard in front of the prison and quickly and quietly slipped inside. I spoke to the prisoner there, and it turns out this is Sir Yaramir. Then who was Hans talking to? They were all bandits that had taken over the fortress and were wearing the colours of Nabokov. For revealing the true Lord of Nabokov, I received the Old Raven trophy, but things went badly right after.
Hey, lads! He found the back! Kill him!
I mean, I tried taking them all out, but they just kept flooding into this tiny room with me, so eventually they killed me. Back to the checkpoint to do it all again. After finding Nabak again and not raising suspicions this time, I was invited to duel Michael for fun. He was extremely tough and honestly he battered me. I had to call the fight, otherwise I'd die during a sparring match. Michael then sent me to their healer, Clara, and she nursed Henry back to health, patching up his wounds and even cleaning his gear. I'm going to assume all the non-soldiers don't know what's going on here, or they're just keeping their mouths shut so they don't get killed. Clara then invited Henry out for a nice stroll in the beautiful countryside, and then had me picking flowers for her to create potions for the soldiers. After completing my little chore, Clara then took Henry into a small glade inside the forest to tell him something. We can see where this is going, huh? Go on, Henry lad.
Now tell me what's so important that you couldn't tell me back there in the glade.
I wanted to give you a riddle.
A riddle? Why?
You'll know soon enough. Now listen, I bloom in silence, a petal's grace, a delicate charm in a hidden place, a whispered scent, a subtle ploy. What am I, elusive and coy? Solve this riddle, unlock the joy.
The only petal I see here is called Clara.
The right answer. And now for your reward.
After rolling around in the grass for some time, Henry sure did receive a huge compliment.
I hope they didn't hear us in the fortress. People wouldn't half talk. If you're as good as that on the battlefield, may God have mercy on your enemies.
Well, those were a nice pair of Henrys. Anyway, I then informed Hans of what was going on, with the bandits taking over the fortress under everyone's noses. And we were going to head off to Lord Otto to let him know this terrible news. Otto was shocked by the news and insisted that we, of course, attempt to save Sir Yaramir as soon as possible, by assembling a force to take the fortress back from the bandits. But I had quests to complete first. Sorry, Otto. Because I wanted to clean up the rest of the map before continuing with the story. So I went back to the miller to see what him and his shady minions were up to. I had previously helped them find materials for a mysterious black powder. There was no secret as to what this was. So here we were, testing to see if the miller had perfected the recipe for gunpowder.
Looks like it ain't working.
Doing this fun questline meant I could now make gunpowder myself, once I could get my hands on the materials, and of course, a gun. But that was later on. Whilst travelling through the game's first map, completing every single side activity, I came across a perfect opportunity for a trophy, getting a long-range headshot with the crossbow. I found some bandits on the road, and thanks to my high stealth level, I could keep shooting at them from a distance without them noticing me, until I landed the money shot, right in the face. A few of the activities I had left involved helping out multiple shepherds around the area, and Henry got himself in some right situations. I had to herd this gentleman's ram back to his herd, and I feel like we really bonded. Henry and the ram, that is.
Greetings, sheep. Don't worry, we're going home. Do you want to hear a joke? What did the wolf say to the baby sheep? Nice to eat you. You're right. It wasn't that funny.
I then had to protect my new friend from waves of wolves, using muck to help, and kicking the living daylights out of them as to not get any animal kills on my record. Then it was time for some more wolfsome moments.
How's Stanislav treating you? Why'd you run away when you have so many sheep friends there? Oh, that's the very reason, you say. What do you call two sheep who are dating? A relationship. What did the clean sheep say to the dirty sheep? You smell bad.
I then returned to the shepherd and received a really bad reward. The next shepherd I helped out claimed that his sheep were being killed by a werewolf, so it was up to me to investigate. It turns out that nearby bandits were killing the sheep, and instead of reasoning with the bandits, I just murdered them all whilst trying to get another trophy. I had to slice an enemy's throat whilst they were searching for me. I had been trying to do this for ages and it just never seemed to work, so that's one for later on. I then hightailed it out of there, covered in bandit blood, and still received a reward, although the shepherd deemed I'd gone a bit overboard. Oopsie. Next I had a really missable side quest to do. This needed to be completed before my next main mission. The side quest was Demons of Trotsky. Rumours of demons were spreading around Trotsky Castle, and I needed to talk to the blacksmith and the castle cooks, as they had claimed to see these demons. The cooks asked me to pour holy water on all of the castle's fireplaces, and the blacksmith, whom is a massive pain, asked me to look for some sort of magical doors that appear. And the door he described ended up being a toilet.
Oh, great. Another shitter.
This was the second time he had sent Henry around the castle to just find a bog. Henry wasn't impressed.
The place you sent me to was just another privy. I'm starting to lose my patience.
Oops, excuse me and my befuddled mind, I've messed up again.
You're just messing with me. People are scared, rumours are spreading, and you're sending me from one privy to another.
It was just a little misunderstanding.
Where the hell are these demons? Tell me.
Look around the staircase leading to the scribe's chamber, near the maid's quarters. It's between the palace below the crone and the tower. That reeking, hellish door must be hidden there.
I swear, if this is another shitter...
Third time's the charm, right? Oh, never mind.
I'm just making a fool of myself. Blacksmith?
Let me guess. You didn't find any demons?
I'm done looking for them.
There's no need to anyway. You made so much noise the demons all crawled back underground. Christ! To think I'd find a moron who'd buy it 3 times in a row. 3 times!
So you were just wasting my time?
Not at all. Next time your belly starts rumbling, you'll know exactly where to go.
A great life lesson, really.
Well, he's getting a smack in the mouth in my next playthrough. But at least that was quest complete. No more missables for the moment, but before continuing with the incredible main story, I was going to take a quick detour for another trophy. I confessed my sins to Brother Nicodemus and he told me to pray at a specific shrine outside of the castle, and to not come back until the evil had left me. I found the shrine and you literally have to listen to Henry pray for a while. By the 3rd time you can tell Henry really can't be asked, and even cuts the prayer short. And that's the Penitent 1 trophy. Simple. Back to the main story at last, and Lord Otto asked Henry and Hans to torture a bandit for information. This bandit was from the same group that wiped us out at the start of our journey, and who took out Captain Thomas's men. We needed to find out who was working with them and giving them information, because these bandits were organised, and they seemed to always have the upper hand on us.
Kurva!
The name, say the name!
Olda! Sabine!
The groom! That's why he left his own wedding.
Jesus Christ! And what about the others? Once von Berghoff finds out...
All hell will break loose! But the people from the fortress are innocent! They know nothing!
Gnarly. Agnes. Good lord.
So the groom of the wedding was working with bandits, and if I told Otto the truth, we would raid Samine, killing many people that Henry had become friends with. I had great times with Gnarly and Jan Samine, so that wasn't going to happen. I felt awful about it, but I had to lie to Otto so that the raid wouldn't happen. This granted me the trophy, Silence is Golden, and I had now also reached a point of no return. I still had one loose end to tie up in this area before progressing, and that was beating Tomcat at the Nomad camp. If I defeated him twice, he would teach me the Master Strike. He was tricky to beat at first, and that's why I came back to him so late, but with lots of experience now I could beat him and learn this amazing new technique. An aggressive counter that could be performed instead of a parry. Hard to land, but so rewarding when you do. Then I went back to Trotsky Castle to prepare for battle. We were going to take back the Nabokov fortress from the bandits. Von Bergov was holding a party with all of his elite soldiers and other nobles the night before. We then discussed the battle plan. The Chamberlain was leading our army in place of Captain Thomas, and he wanted to attack head-on. We told him it was a bad plan, but he didn't listen. Catherine was also listening in a bit too closely for my liking. Hans decided to be sensible for once and didn't get wasted, so I did the same and retrieved him some good armor from the idiot blacksmith, even if it took some convincing. Before hitting the hay to get a good rest, I spoke to Otto's bodyguard, Black Bartosz. I was looking forward to seeing him in battle, being Otto's best soldier. The rest of them partied away while we got some sleep. And then before we knew it, we were moving out to battle. Another few long cutscenes incoming for context. Skip or enjoy, because these are fantastic.
How was the Hungarian wine, gentlemen? I hope you don't have sore heads this morning.
Don't worry, Lord Chamberlain. My head is clear. A real knight knows how to behave on the eve of a battle.
What about your faithful servant and protector here?
I'm ready for battle, sir.
I'm glad to hear it. Sir Otto has charged me with keeping you safe. I hope you don't have anything against me escorting you today, Lord Capon.
I can't say what an honor it is for me. I suppose someone doesn't want me to mess up again, eh?
But Lord Capon, taking care of our guests is right and proper.
You, Sir Ulrich, should worry about not getting too many bloodstains on you today.
We all have our orders, and mine are to defeat that band of scoundrels in Nabokov. Why dally then when we have work to do? To battle, gentlemen! Open the gate! We're moving out.
That outlaw and his band really fucked with us last time, eh?
I'm just hoping he won't fuck with us again now.
There aren't enough of them that can tackle this kind of force.
True enough.
And to think, I drank a toast with that fucker. Christ!
I hope you enjoyed your wine, Lord Capon, since old Nebak was chewing on dry straw in his own cellars.
Don't you worry, Chamberlain. I'll see to that sneaky fucker in person.
You two are pathetic. I get the impression you're afraid to go into these woods, even with an army around you.
Yeah, I think I can see now why your lord barely escaped with his life. Maybe his captain underestimated the foe as light-heartedly as you.
Weigh your words carefully, young man. You didn't fare any better yourselves.
Yeah, that's exactly why I'll be a lot more...
We were completely outdone and caught off guard by the bandits yet again, and they even had guns. The Chamberlain's stubbornness and naivety had gotten us in big trouble. Hans manages to haul Henry to his feet, then we are plunged into a fight for our lives. I was given a bow here which I had surprisingly used for the first time in KCD2. after taking a liking to crossbows. And wow, have they made bows better. They fire faster and more accurately than in KCD1. Dare I say they're a bit overpowered. I had to keep moving with Hans, otherwise he would just die, unfortunately. I then found out about Ulrich, dead as a dodo. He kinda deserved it really after the way he treated us. Henry and Hans scraped their way through the forest, fighting off countless bandits on the way. We were trying to escape and get out of the other side of the forest, but it just wasn't enough. We had our last stand, and Hans was sent flying with a heavy blow to the head. Henry stood his ground as best he could, and the leader of this band of outlaws finally revealed himself to Henry at the mention of an honourable fight.
War is a nasty business, and it is better to have your head on your neck and your foe on his knees than the other way around.
Now what is a coward turned to banditry? You should have been a knacker. You'd still have your head on your neck, and your own seat in the tavern.
Shut your stupid mouth. You have no idea who you're talking to.
Yeah, to a weasel, who shoots from the bushes instead of a fair fight.
You think so, huh?
Now I was to duel this mysterious man. Seemingly a bandit, but there's clearly much more to him. I don't know if I was overleveled or what, but I absolutely destroyed him in an instant.
Damn it! You're good.
We find out that the man's name is Zizka, and we don't know if he is an honourable man or just a bandit he seems to be. Henry also claims Zizka's eye in battle. I'm sure he won't let that slide. Henry and Hans' fate is now in Zizka's hands.
So, do you reckon you can trust an outlaw to keep his word of honour?
Now we shift our focus immediately over to Father Godwin on his mission to find Henry and Hans.
The best laid plans of men don't always come to fruition. As the saying goes, man proposes, but God disposes. And then boots you right in the balls. All I wanted was a quiet life. Nothing more. Take it easy. Have a bit of fun now and again. Will not piss anyone off too much. Apart from the Uzit's bailiff. But that's a different matter. But there's spiteful tongues everywhere. Well, you know how it is. And they complained about me to the man up above.
What? Him?
No! The bishop!
So Godwin made it to Trotsky, and he's seeking information at the same tavern where I won the fighting tournament as Henry. I was so hyped to be playing as Godwin, it was a nice touch. Godwin finds an injured man who claims he was caught up in the crossfire from the battle that recently unfolded by the mill. He mentions the fate of Henry and Hans, or people that look like them, to Godwin, so I set off immediately on Godwin's horse, Bibiana, following the directions that he just received from Kuba and the maid.
Yeah! I'm supposed to take a left at the crossroads. Well, this must be that chapel. Now to the right, and down to the woods.
Godwin approaches the battlefield, so close to finding out Henry and Hans' fate. But that's it for Volume 1 of this series. Thank you for making it this far, and see you in Volume 2 when it's ready, to continue this story and earn more trophies. See you in another video.